Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Osama Sayyid from islamafterahmadiyya.com. Today's video is going to cover a very, very interesting subject, a topic which is very, very important. It's called, we've named it Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's love for the unjust British rule in India. As you know, India was occupied by the British imperialists, who also occupied most of the world, actually, a lot of areas of Africa as well, and a lot of areas in Asia as well, of course. They were colonialists. They saw they basically took these as if they're their own possessions, these countries, colonized them, controlled all their economies, everything, controlled the government, of course, everything. And most fair historians, not people who are being paid by a government or something, they'll tell you that, of course, this colonization wasn't done for the sake of the people who are being colonized. So therefore, in India, for example, the British the British government weren't there to sit there helping the Indians. They weren't it wasn't a charity. They were doing it mainly for their own benefit, to take resources from India, take them back to Europe, or trade, use Indian resources, trade with other countries, and then take the surplus or the actual money, the profit they make from selling all their things, take that money back to England and build their country, whilst keeping down the people of the country that they've invaded, which is India. Obviously, in India, there were a few people who loved the British. They just loved them so much, not because they were fair or nothing, it's because they benefited from the British there. The British chose select people. They selected, people in every region, because India is a very big country. It's divided into big regions. Punjab in the north, for example. Well, Punjab is where Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was. And they got people who are willing to basically sell out their country, sell out their people for wage, for a good amount of money, or for a position, in the government that they had set up. So obviously, you can pull out a few Indians, of course, who were in the on the side of the British, because they were actually benefiting. They were just complete sellouts. Just because they were Indian doesn't mean they're going to be loyal. There's always, in every country around the world, you can find somebody who has sold their country out for money or for some kind of status, or some benefit, obviously. So there are traitors everywhere. Obviously, you'll never find any sort of statement or any document anywhere that would, unequivocally state that Mirza Ghulam was paid or specifically planted by the British in India to claim that he is the Mahdi, so that he can abrogate jihad and get the people, the Muslims, on the side of the British, rather than thinking that they want to get rid of the British and get them out of India and get their country back. You'll never see anything direct like that. Our personal opinion as well is we are not 100% sure, because of the lack of direct evidence, whether Mirza Ghulam directly was actually told to do this, or he decided to do it and basically offer his services to the British invaders, and then they basically took up his offer. We don't know. We don't know for sure. But obviously, with the evidence that will be presented in this video, you'll see it up on your screen in due course. You can make your own mind up. And the bottom line is not whether he did it himself or they told him to do it. The bottom line is, this person is claimed to be a prophet of Allah, prophet in Islam, a prophet after Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Muhammad, what an amazing human being, brought us the whole religion of Islam, the beautiful book of the Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are Allah's words. And this man is claimed to be a prophet after him. And then you come and, you see for yourself the kind of things he said, and the support that he showed for these unjust invaders, these colonialists. These people, they left, I think, in 1947, I think, right after World War II, they left India. And they came in, I think they started with the East India Company. They came in, I think, in the 1600s, I believe. So they were there for a good few hundred years, bleeding India dry. They were there to take all of their resources. They were there to... India's GDP, I think it was almost a third. It was like China, almost a third before the British invaded it. And when they left, it was under 7%. So it was almost 30% when the British invaded it. And when the British left India, it was, I think, 6.9 or 6.7%, their GDP. So you can see from that the British did not help India at all. They bled it dry. They ruined their economy. They sent them back hundreds of years in terms of India's development. I mean, India has a lot of resources. It's an amazing country, really, and it's huge as well. So there's a lot of potential for revenue and for industry. And the British invasion, the British colonialism, ruined that. And you will hear Ahmadi missionaries saying stuff to you like, before the British came, the Sikh rulers used to prevent people from praying, or you'll hear that they'll say the Muslim rulers are really unjust, all this kind of thing. You know what? That's not even my problem. That's not our problem at all here. We're concerned of Islam. And number one point that I would say to that is that at least they were Indians who were doing it. That's their own country. So either what, you prefer that the British would come and invade and take all of their resources, just because they allow you to pray in your mosque, but let them rob the country blind. That's not a just answer, because you'll hear missionaries say that they'll try to basically shut you up. That's not an answer. They let you pray in your mosque, so it's okay for them to rob your country blind? No, that's not acceptable at all. So right now I'm going to start with, there are many, many, many pieces of evidence, but I'm going to just start with a few now. The first one is where Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in Ruhani Khaza'in volume 10, page 81. The book is called Arya Dharam, where he basically shows his loyalty to the British invaders in India. And it's written in Urdu, and obviously I don't read Urdu, so I've had it translated professionally, and you can check the screenshot on your screen. The translation is, without doubt, our Jan and Mal, so that's our life and our wealth. Jan is life, Mal is wealth. Is and will be for the sacrifice of the British government's well-being. Now, this is a huge thing. This is a prophet of Allah, someone who's claiming to be a prophet of Allah. He's claiming to be the Mahdi. He's claiming to be, obviously, unacceptably, the second coming of our great Holy Prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he comes and says to you that, he says our wealth and our life. He wants to sacrifice his life for the British invaders of India. I mean, just let that sink in a little bit. This is completely unacceptable. And personally, this was one of the big reasons why I left Ahmadiyya, because this was one of the more preliminary things that I researched, pieces of evidence that I researched and I verified. And obviously that's why this is the beginning of why I left Ahmadiyya. The continuation of that is that they actually pray secretly. He says, Mirza Ghulam says, we pray secretly for the, success or greatness, of the British Empire. So you can see what that does for you when you think this man's a prophet of Allah, and he says that kind of thing. We've also got. This is Majmu' Ishtiharat, volume 2, page 228. You've got, it's actually very, very funny. You're going to see it on screen now. You see a table. You see a letter and then followed by a table, which Mirza Ghulam, the supposed prophet of Allah, the supposed Mahdi, the supposed second coming of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he writes to a British official, basically offering his services as a spy. He offers his services as a spy to the British official, stating that he will compile he will compile a list of people, men, who he believes have rebellion in their heart, who he believes don't want the British to rule the Indian people anymore. So he's actually offered them this service, that he will spy on them, and it's so hideous, his way of his train of thought or his reasoning is pathetic, because he tries to say that he will prove people have rebellion in their heart by, I believe, those who don't turn up at Jum'ah prayer. There's more detail to that, obviously, either 1 or 2 weeks in a row or something like that. So basically, if you don't turn up to Jum'ah prayer, he's going to put your name on this list. And the list actually says, it's got a list that says number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you can put. He put his numbers. The next box says name, and thereafter, obviously, it says things like your address and your kayfiyat. This is an Urdu word, which I believe it means like your inclination, your mentality, are you against, are you really against, or whatever, that kind of thing. This is the supposed Prophet of Allah, Prophet of Islam, our beautiful, just, fair religion. This man is trying to offer his services here to the unjust invaders of India and further enslave. He intended to keep all the Muslims basically enslaved under these British occupiers. Next thing I'm going to mention is that Mirza Ghulam we found 11 different areas within Mirza Ghulam's writings where he mentions to the British government, the British officials, that his father gave 50 horses and 50 riders during the rebellion of 1857 with the Indians, and it wasn't just Muslims, by the way. It was the Sikhs, the Muslims, obviously some Hindus as well. They, and any other religion, they just didn't want to be occupied anymore. They didn't want to be under the unjust rule of these foreigners who have come in. And obviously, as you all know, if you know history, unfortunately the British, when they went into all these foreign lands, they really acted and believed that they were like a superior race. They thought that it's our right to come into your primitive Indian country and take all your resources. So obviously, this is the kind of mentality that was prevalent at that time. Mirza also, there's another reference where Mirza says that he's I'm kind of paraphrasing at the moment, where he says, I've written so many books in favor of the British government that you could fill 50 almaris, which are basically wardrobes or bookcases. So he's in favor of the British government. He's written so many books in favor of them. All of this, again, you ask yourself, why is he saying such things? Why is he saying it's not because of Islam? It's not because of some Islamic obligation why he's saying this to them. He's saying it because he wants to curry, some favor with them. He wants to build up a good relation with them, show them how much he's on their side. Please don't forget that I'm on your side here. This is supposedly a prophet of Allah who's saying this kind of thing. That's all there for your consideration. In another area, obviously, he mentions that he refers to the government as the benevolent government. This is quite hilarious. Again, if you look at history and you look at what the British did in India, during their stay there, the occupation there, you could never call them benevolent. And this is a person who claims that he gets ilham and God shows him stuff and tells him all sorts of stuff, and this is the kind of thing he says to you. What are we going to go on to next? Right now, we've got we've got some, which book is this from? Sirat al-Mahdi. Well, you're going to see on screen now, it says page 120 to 121, 122. It's a letter, basically, from J.M. Wilson to Mirza Ghulam. The I think this is Mirza Ghulam's father. This is Mirza Ghulam Murtaza Khan, chief of Qadian. I believe this is Mirza's father, where he mentions things like, he says like, I have perused your application reminding me of you and your family's past services and rights. I am well aware that since the introduction of the British government, you and your family have certainly remained devoted, faithful and steady subjects, and that your rights are really worthy of regard. In every aspect, you may rest assured and satisfied that the British government will never forget your family's rights and services, which will receive due consideration when a favourable opportunity offers itself. You must continue to be faithful and devoted subjects, as in it lies the satisfaction of the government and your welfare. Now this is 1106-1849. Obviously Mirza, from his writings, he was born in 1839 and 1840, so he was only about 10 years old. But this just gives a little bit of background into how his father's mentality was. And then obviously you see that Mirza followed in those footsteps, and obviously he took it a step too far, obviously, unfortunately for him, by choosing the religion of Islam, in which to bring in his filthy lies or delusions, attach it to Islam and make himself into a prophet of Allah in the religion of Islam. When to be fair, he should have just, if he wanted to do that, he should have just made his own religion, in my opinion. I think many people agree. If he made his own little religion up, no one would have actually said anything to him. But unfortunately, he's tried to attach it to Islam and make our beautiful religion corrupt. These pages are coming up on the screen. You also see that he mentions Mr. Robert Cast also writes a letter to Mirza Ghulam Murtaza, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's father. He's the chief of Qadian. He mentions, the loyalty during they call it a mutiny in 1857. When the people rebelled and they wanted the British out of their country. The Indians wanted the British out of the country. The British government calls it mutiny because they probably thought that they owned that country, Right now, what have we got here next? Now, you contrast what Mirza Ghulam has said about the British government, and you will see missionaries saying things, preposterous things such as, they were just rulers. You'll hear missionaries today, when you ask them, they're going to say to you, the British were just rulers. And, do you know how bad the Sikhs were and all this kind of thing? Just rulers, right? And, you hear things like about, how fair they were and, that they allowed them to pray and all this kind of thing. This is quite hideous, because what did they do when they were there? Now, the next thing you're going to see on the screen is not from Mirza Ghulam's writings at all. It's from the India secret records. Now, these things, you can go and find them. They're no longer secret, but they're in the British Library in Euston. You can go to the India office records, and you will see it there. You'd have to do a lot of research, because obviously me and my colleagues, we spent a long time going there and doing so much research. And alhamdulillah, we've managed to pick up quite a lot of useful stuff. Now, I begin first of all just to show. I'm going to begin with just to give you a little bit of economic information. In India, now this, within the records, the British records, you guys probably don't know that the British were one of, if not the largest, opium drug dealers in the world in the 19th century. They were huge. Opium is what you make heroin from, and we all know what heroin does to people. It's addictive and it's a killer. It kills people. So the British government, obviously, if you look in the records in the early 20th century towards the mid 20th century, it seemed that the opium disappeared from the accounts that they used to fill up. But these things are still here. Like if you look in the 19th century, you'll see these figures. For example, you've got you'll see it on your screen now. You see, for example, the net opium revenue in 1872 was 6,870,423. I can only assume that's rupees. It says RX. I believe that's rupees. The next, in 1875, it was 6,250,860, and so on. As you can see, it goes all the way to 1890. There, in 1890, it was 6,977,949. Now, you can read on screen there. It shows, these are government documents that are on screen right now. It's not from some author. It's not somebody who's made it up or given his account. These are government documents, official government documents. It shows how calculated and merciless the British were in India. They saw it as simply as an economical adventure, just an economic adventure, just to go there, raid the country dry, take anything you can. They also used to force people to grow opium instead of normal food, agricultural crops, because opium, obviously, it's a lot more expensive, and it was seen as a cash crop, so they could quickly they could trade with other countries, like give you, like, for example, I'm saying 10 tons of opium, you give me 20 tons of tea or 30 tons of tea, for example. So it's a straightforward exchange, and they didn't care if the people were starving or not. The famine, there were several famines in India where millions of people died, and yet at the same time they're still growing so much opium, and the British were exporting food from India while the famines were going on in India. So next time, if you ever come across a missionary, Ahmadiyya missionary, who starts saying to you that they were just rulers and all this kind of thing, please show him this kind of thing, because he has not seen it. Even if you find the oldest missionary, he's going to be 70, 80 years old, that means he must have been born in like 1930 or something like that. Okay, so he doesn't know this stuff. So you can show them our video if you wish. So obviously opium, is such a, it's a killer, ruins people's lives, and this is what the benevolent British government, according to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, this is what they were doing in India at the time. And this is at the very same time he's saying they're benevolent, you should sacrifice your life and your mal and jan for them. Next up, from the secret records, actually, this again, there is it's a message on the 1st of July 1869 by Lord Mayo. His name is Lord Mayo. It's a secret note basically sent to the Duke of Argyll. It's all in his handwriting, and so it is a little bit, it's going to be a bit slow for me to read, but I will start somewhere here. Let's see. Okay, it says Russia hardly seems to be aware of the dangerous game she is trying to play in Central Asia. She looks to the history of our success, as in the British success. So she looks to the history of our success in Hindustan. Hindustan means India. That's what I used to call it before. She looks to the history of our success in Hindustan and is... I can't exactly tell what that word is, but it's I can't be too sure about that word. And then it says there, blah 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 blah, to follow. She is, not affectionately, apparently, something to follow our steps or our style, but she forgets that the circumstances of the countries and nations within whom she proposes to deal are widely different. No, there are no millions of mild Hindus, quiet and taxable, inhabiting vast and fertile plains. No such differences of religion and race as, what's that word there? As with, or something like that. I can't read it. Unable to play off Mohammedans, Sikh, Hindu or Buddhist against each other. So you guys, you know, you can think about that right now. You can think about what this guy has said. He's actually said, he's warning Russia, because obviously I have to give you a bit of background. He's talking about the Russians, how they are going to make a big mistake if they try to invade Afghanistan, right? And so he's basically comparing the two, and he's basically saying to Russia, about Russia, that if they think they're going to invade Afghanistan and do what like the British did, the British basically were lucky because they say they're lucky according to what Lord Mayo is saying here, because they were able to play the Mohammedans, who are the Muslims, against the Sikhs, against the Hindus, and against the Buddhists, play all of them against each other. So therefore, divide them, divide and conquer. So he's saying that Russia will not find that in Afghanistan because they're all Muslim and they're all very, you know, they're all strong-minded and all that kind of thing. So they won't be able to divide them. The Afghanis will fight with them to the death, all one hand, all on the same side. They won't be able to divide them up. This is proof here of what the British used to do in India. And obviously this is not just about India. You can apply this to the whole empire, and it even works today. They even do this kind of thing today, although we can't prove it. We all know very well that we can't even prove this today, because no one would even show us any of these secret documents. You won't be able to find it. But this is from the 19th century, and it's really, it's really an eye-opener, because you know about divide and conquer. Many people know about that. If you want to control a country, you can't leave them, all of them, on the same side, because they'll destroy you. It's going to be hard. Even if you win, at what cost? You'll probably end up losing so many soldiers. So what they do is they divide them up. Make this group hate that group, the other group hate the other group. So therefore they will not all put their hands together and fight against you. So this is what this Lord Mayo has actually said here. You can see it on screen. You can pause it if you want, because it's very difficult handwriting. That's why you can see it took me a little bit of time to try to get the words there. It's actually, any historians out there, you actually find this very, very interesting. I like history myself as a hobby, and I wouldn't call myself a historian, but it's a very, very interesting area of history, to see what the British did in India and their whole empire. Right now, I have got I've got this book. It's by Sir William Hunter. Now this book, it's actually a report that was sanctioned by Parliament, the British Parliament, in, I believe, 1868 approximately. The British Parliament asked this gentleman, Sir William Hunter, to travel to India and to compile a report, a report about the Indian Mussulmans. Obviously, you know what that is, Indian Muslims. And his book is called "The Indian Mussulmans, Are They Bound in Conscience to Rebel Against the Queen?" Now, the amazing thing about this book is that initially, the book itself has actually been reproduced. This copy I've got here is, I'll tell you which year. I don't remember what year it was reproduced, but anyway, it was produced in 1870 or something like that, or 1871. I'm just going to read a little bit from this book. He says on page 11 here, it says, "The Mohammedan masses eagerly drinking in the poisoned teachings of the apostles of insurrection, while a small minority anxiously seeks to get rid of the duty to rebel by ingenious interpretations of the sacred law. But if I were to end here, I would have only told half the truth. The Mussulmans of India are, and have been for many years, a source of chronic danger to the British power in India. For some reason or other, they hold aloof from our system and the changes in which the more flexible Hindus have cheerfully acquiesced, and they personally regard them as being deep personal wrongs." Now this book, I mean that part right there, it shows this book actually, the purpose of this, the benefit of this book for us, for you listeners out there, is to show how sophisticated and how detailed the British government accumulated reports, how deeply they studied the people of India. Why? So that they can carry on controlling them. They were very clever. They didn't just go in there thinking we'll just blow everyone up and shoot everyone and that's it. No, they did use a lot of violence, but they also used their brains. It's immoral what they did, but it was very, very clever. But it's not moral. It's very, very immoral what they did. And this book, actually, this William Hunter, he actually sits there talking about the Mahdi. He sits there talking about Wahhabis, talking about Shi'is, talking about Sunnis. He knows all the sects. He knows all the things they're expecting. They're waiting for a Mahdi and all this kind of thing. Now, this book report was compiled approximately 1870. That's when Mirza Ghulam was around 30, 31, that kind of thing. And Mirza Ghulam came out with all his claims. He began his claims, I believe, in 1880 something. So within around 10 years or so, you get somebody who's called Mirza Ghulam who starts saying, I'm the Mahdi and I am the one who's come and I'm abrogating jihad. This is what Mirza Ghulam does. So this is a really useful book for you guys out there. It's not actually very expensive. You can find it on all the main any booksellers. Really, you can Google it, go on the internet, you'll find it. It's really, really good to give you an idea, because the Ahmadi missionaries and Ahmadi people in general, they are given a view that Mirza Ghulam was in some far place called Qadian. It didn't have a train line, or that, of course it didn't have a train line or whatever, and it was a bit distant, but he was not cut off from the world. In fact, and I'll get the reference one day, inshallah, and put it up in one of the other videos. He actually read this man, Sir William Hunter's report. He read his report, and he was actually upset by it, because he felt like, oh no, not all of us are trying to rebel against the British rule in India. So this shows, you people out there, you think Mirza Ghulam was like in some distant place, and just suddenly God sent all this knowledge and gave him all these ilhams and all this kind of thing. And no, at all, not at all. There was a lot of stuff he read, and he had people around him reading things, and he was just basically more capable than the poor illiterate people around him. That's actually reminded me of another point. Just the literacy rate in India in the 19th century. I believe, if I remember, and I'm saying this from memory, I think it was under 7%, I think, or was it 3%? So basically for every 100 people, I think it was 7%. So every 100 people, only 7 could read. For every 100 people, only 7 could read. Now this is what I really think that Mirza Ghulam benefited from, because when he used to make up lies and say Qadian is mentioned in the Quran. Astaghfirullah. The Quran is there for all to see. If you can read Arabic, even if you don't know what it means, find where the word Qadian is. Find where it even says north of India, north of Al-Hind, Shamal Al-Hind or something you might see in Arabic. You won't see any of that stuff. So he lied to people, and because there was high illiteracy, people couldn't verify what he used to say. And in addition, they couldn't even read some of his preposterous things that he wrote. They just thought, oh, this is all in favor of Islam. Pay money for, as you know, the whole 5 and 50 saga. Pay money to Mirza Ghulam because he's defending our religion. But they couldn't read anything. So unfortunately, they got sucked into it. Families got sucked into it. And I'm sure families got sucked into it who their further generations are still in Ahmadiyya today. Because their families, their grandfather or grandmother or whatever, whoever went into Ahmadiyya couldn't read properly, or never read, could read and just didn't read, and got sucked in by the lies of Mirza Ghulam, his delusions, or his lies, whichever you want to call it, and they accepted Ahmadiyya without verifying it. Inshallah, there's another book here that I think some of you, I'm sure most of you won't bother getting these books, but it's really good if you want to. It's by Martin Meredith, and it's called Diamonds, Gold and War, The Making of South Africa. Now, the British did control parts of South Africa and a lot of parts of Africa, of course, and they were in South Africa. The Dutch were there. They were called, they were there. They controlled parts of it, and obviously there were Africans there as well. It's their home basically. The Africans, isn't it? It wasn't. It didn't. Doesn't. The Europeans came in there and invaded it. For a long period of time, no one realized that there was a lot of diamonds and gold there, and so when this all came alight, basically the British. Even Mr. Meredith in his book, he mentions this in his own book, that the British government basically deceived people and lied and made up all sorts of lies so that they could invade areas of, now it's called South Africa, but the war was called the Boer War. The area is called the Transvaal. It was there in South Africa, and obviously British soldiers died. In this war, which was not a war for freedom, it was a war for diamonds and gold. Some British soldiers died, obviously. And the relevance here is that Mirza Ghulam asked or commanded his followers to donate generously for the wounded British soldiers who were in the Transvaal in South Africa to steal diamonds and gold. I let that sink in with you. Mirza Ghulam, who's calling himself, I am a prophet of Allah, I am the prophet of Islam, I am like Sayyidina Muhammad, I am higher than Sayyidina Muhammad, I am Jesus, I am the Mahdi. He actually commanded his followers to donate money to the soldiers who were there to steal. They were there to steal and they got injured or killed, and he's commanding them to donate money. What? Hakaman adalan. You always hear this hakaman adalan. Where is the justice? Where is the justice of this man? This man is totally against the Muslims. He was with just the British. He loved the British government. I don't know what it was that attracted him so much. Was it their lifestyle or the way they were? I don't know. But the worst thing is that he's come and he tried to pollute our beautiful religion. The religion of Islam. The religion built on justice, built on do not support unjust people, built on say the truth. This man has come and he's doing the opposite. Support the unjust people. Donate to the unjust people. So now I'm reading from page 218 to 219 from Majmu'a Ishtiharat, volume 3. This is regarding this whole payment, taking money from the followers of Mirza Ghulam. Mirza Ghulam basically taking money of them to give to these the British soldiers who were wounded or killed while trying to steal the diamonds and the gold from the Transvaal in South Africa. And I'm reading it now. It says, an important notice for our Jamaat. Because the British government's benevolence towards the Muslims of Hind and Punjab, here we go. Therefore, no matter how much Muslims show gratitude to their benevolent government, it is never enough. Because Muslims still haven't forgotten the time when they were suppressed by the Sikhs and the Muslims world was being destroyed. In fact, the condition of their faith was even worse. Allah sent this blessed government as a mercy and saved us from the claws of the zalim, the evildoers, and also established every kind of peace and religious freedom. Everyone should sincerely pray for our benevolent government, that Allah Ta'ala grant them great victory in this war, the Transvaal war, that is being fought in the Transvaal. People of our Jamaat, he goes on to say, obviously there's a gap, he goes on to say, people of our Jamaat, wherever they may be, should give chanda according to their ability for those Britons wounded in the Transvaal war. This chanda should be collected and lists sent to Mirza Khuda Baksh in Qadian, who has been appointed for this duty by the 1st of March 1900. Our Jamaat should consider this work important and carry it out urgently. I mean, that says it all. I mean, do I even have to elaborate? I mean, of course I'll elaborate on it. But itself, you don't even need to like add anything more to that. So this guy sits there saying, this is the benevolent government. Basically, this just government that let us practice our religious freedom. And Allah has sent them. I mean, you guys all know by now, you should know by now, and if you haven't, you will find out. We're going to put it from books, I believe it's Sirat al-Mahdi, written by, I think, his son, where he gives accounts of his father's life and how he used to live. His father used to take opium and drink arak. You know what arak is? Arak is such a highly concentrated alcoholic drink. It can go anything up to 63% alcohol concentration. It's stronger than vodka. You know, so maybe this is why this guy, he used to take these sort of take his opium and drink his alcohol, and on, you know, like nowadays people would say you cracked in your head or something, like you're proper high that you can't see reality. Black is white for you, white is black, up is down, and down is up. Because this is what Mirza is doing right here. He's talking about the unjust, evil British Empire in India, and he refers to them as benevolent, and that they'd give us religious freedom, and that we should give everything to them, and as he says previously, we should give our mal and jan for them. Do you know how many people starved in the famines in India while the British controlled India? Hundreds of millions. I repeat, hundreds of millions. Not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of poor Indian people died in the famines in India while the British controlled India. For example, between 1876 and 1878, approximately 10 million Indians died of famine. They died from the famine, no food. There's just no food. And it could have been prevented because look how large India is and look how much crops they grow. But the British government kept taking these crops, not giving it to the dying Indian people, but exporting it. They needed to export it because obviously they're getting paid. That thing they export, they're going to get money for it, and then they can take that money and send it back to England for themselves. But if they give it to these poor people, some of them won't even be able to afford the food, or they might have to sell it to them very cheaply. So they think, no, you know, why should we give it to them for, you know, it's only going to get a couple of million. We can export this and get 10 million, 20 million, whatever it is, whatever figure that they were getting. So in between 1876 and 1878, around 10 million Indians died. At that time, on average, between those years, 1 million tons of rice were being exported. 1 million tons. So 1,000,000 kilograms of rice were being exported out of India while the Indian people are dying. On average, 200,000 tons of wheat was exported between 1876 and 1878. When you've got a famine, you stop exporting. You give your people the food. But this wasn't their people. The British didn't look at the Indians as their people. When this Mirza Ghulam sits there saying, our government and this government, and Allah sent them, these thieving invaders, he says Allah sent thieving invaders to India. They sit there exporting the food. Can anyone tell me how many British people in India died of famine? They were the invaders, yet they were well fed. Would anyone leave them without food on their table? Look at the pictures, man. Google the pictures on the internet. Write Indian famine during British rule. Just look at the pictures there. I wanted to put them up on this video, but it's too sickening. You will see either people piled up like logs of wood, you know? Like branches that fell off the tree, like piled them up and just throw them in a corner. You'll see people piled up like that. You'll see entire families sitting in these, they used to have like these camps for like starved people. And people had to like walk miles and miles, and not even a couple of miles, like tens of miles, and sometimes over 100 miles to get to this place where they'd be given less food than they used to give in the Nazi concentration camps. The Nazis who used to feed the Jews, the ones who they killed, They actually gave, in India, they gave them less food to the Indian people. What did the Indian people do to the British invaders for them to be treated like that? Nothing. It's just the British saw them as worthless people. It's a disgusting, disgusting period of the British history, but it's a fact. This is how they treated the people. Obviously, they thought Christianity was the big, you know, the main religion and the truth, and so they looked really badly upon Hindus, especially. They used to really, you know, look at everything like, you know, look at their gods as, you know, completely basically showing them no respect. So they really thought these Hindus were just nothing. I've even mentioned earlier in this video how Lord Mayo refers to the Hindus as the mild Hindus. Mild Hindus, quiet and taxable. So they don't put up a fight. They don't say, no, give us our rights. You know, why are you doing this to us? Get out of our country. So they showed no respect to the Hindus. So again, Mirza Ghulam sits here telling us these filthy lies, filthy, disgusting lies. And he says he's a prophet of Allah. And all you Ahmadis out there, can you really accept that this is a prophet of Allah who says this kind of thing? This is aside from the hundreds, over 100 different things we can show you about this man's character, despicable character. You can leave Ahmadiyya just on this video alone. The evidence presented within this video alone. You can leave Ahmadiyya. And yet we have got so much other evidence from his own writings to show that this man has got nothing to do with Islam. Islam is innocent. Islam bari' min Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Bari' minnu. It is innocent of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. It's got nothing to do with Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He should have made his own flipping religion, make his own religion, and stay away from Islam. Instead, he tried to get followers, because if he came with a new religion, he can't get new followers. Everyone's going to, oh, get out of here, this new religion. We're not following you. So he deceived the innocent Muslims who are now Ahmadis today. Their great-grandfathers, all of you people, any of you listening today, it's possible that your great-great-grandfather got fooled and conned by this Mirza Ghulam while Mirza Ghulam was alive, and you are Ahmadi today, and people like yourself are suffering, like, you know, people, stupid people, of course, try killing them like in Lahore, killing Ahmadis in Lahore, all this, which I'm totally against, of course. You're suffering because Mirza Ghulam lied to your ancestors, your great-great-great-grandfathers, or your great-great-grandmothers, for example. You're suffering for this. You are cut off from the Muslim Ummah for this man. I continue, I'll give you another figure. Between 1896 and 1902. The conservative figure is 8 million Indians died. The more realistic, because obviously the more realistic figure is around 19 million Indians died between 1896 and 1902. And the export of rice on average between 1896 and 1902 was 1.5 million tons a year. 1.5 million tons. 1.5 million tons of rice being exported while the poor Indians are dying in India under this supposed benevolent British government of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. On average, 500,000 tons of wheat were being exported every year between 1896 and 1902, while the Indians died, starved and died. In fact, you know, there's a person called Mike Davis who was around at that time in his own book. His name is Mike Davis. You can find his book online. I take a quote from his book. He said, "When desperate women and their hungry children attempted to steal from gardens or glean grain from fields, they were branded, tortured, had their noses cut off, and were sometimes killed." Starving people, this is how they get treated. It's their flipping country. You've taken their country. You've invaded their country. And Mirza Ghulam calls them benevolent. The Sikhs were never this bad. The Sikhs could never have been this bad. I don't even care about what the Sikhs did or what the Muslims did or anything. He has taken the side of the British government at that time, and this is what they did to the Indians. At least the Sikhs didn't look at all Indians as nothing, as garbage, because they're Indian themselves. The British looked at all the Indians as garbage, as substandard human. So you see, my dear listeners, anybody who has justice, it doesn't even matter if you're Muslim or not. How could you say that the British in India were benevolent and just? How could you? It's nothing to do with Islam or Quran or Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How could you call them just and benevolent? And then he goes on to say stuff, hideous things, where he sits there talking about Allah has, with His special fadl, His blessing, made this government a refuge for me and my Jama'at. The peace we have gained through this government, we cannot get this peace in Mecca or Medina. In Mecca or Medina, he says. So the government is sitting there robbing your country blind, taking all the resources, making people starve of famines, keeping all your Indian compatriots down, looking at them as nothing, as dirt. As they didn't even have accurate even figures of how many people died, because it's irrelevant, isn't it? It's like, as I said, branches have fallen off a tree. Just count how many branches, man. Doesn't matter what their names are. Just pile them up over there in that thing. Throw them in an abandoned well or something. That's what they used to do. Old wells and stuff. Throw the bodies in there. Just throw it there. Get out of the way. It's just obstructing our pathway here. And Mirza says that he has more peace than under the British in India than he would have in Mecca or Medina. I mean, why even make that comparison? Of course we know Mirza wasn't welcome there because he's a liar. He's a liar. He's a fake prophet. He's a fake claimant. What, does he think the Muslim people are going to welcome him with open arms in Mecca or Medina? Of course they're not going to welcome him with open arms. Because he is a liar, not just because he's claiming to be the Mahdi and a prophet and all this stuff. He is a liar. Look at his claims. I think they take one look at his face and hears one sentence out of his mouth and they say this guy's a liar. Why does he have to go out of his way to say we can't even get this kind of peace in Mecca or Medina? Why insult like that? You all probably, I asked people myself when I was in Ahmadiyya about this following point that I'm going to tell you now. This is Rahani Khaza'in, volume 13, it's in Kitab al-Bariyah, page 13, alright? Condition number 4 of Bay'ah, which you will not see now today. And I asked people, while I was in Ahmadiyya, I asked them, where is this 4th condition? Why was it removed for? And I'll tell you what explanation. I won't tell you who said it, but I'll tell you, it's a prominent person who told me this explanation, alright? I'll tell you the condition number 4. Is to be sincere well-wisher of the British government. That's your 4th condition for accepting the Imam al-Mahdi, the one who's pretending to be the Mahdi foretold in Islamic literature. So this person is claiming to be the one who's going to defend Islam and show everyone in the world how amazing Islam is and it's the correct deen and show, a great strength of character, great correctness in Islamic values and Islamic thought. This guy says to you, in order for you to accept him, you have to be a sincere well-wisher of the British government. How the hell is that relevant to Allah? How is that relevant to Islam? That's not even relevant to any religion. Even if he was a Hindu or Sikh or Buddhist or anything, why would you put this condition in there? It's irrelevant to your religion. It's irrelevant to God. These people are invaders. They don't own your country. They invade. They're going to leave soon. So why are you putting such a thing in your conditions of bay'ah? So if you didn't accept condition number 4 and he said, no, I'm not going to be a sincere well-wisher of these dirty invaders, he's going to say, oh, well, you can't accept the Imam Mahdi as foretold in all these ahadith, which we know he is not that. He doesn't even fit the signs anyway. Where is that 4th condition? It's been removed. And when I asked a prominent person in London, I'm not going to say their name to avoid all the legal stuff, alright? He told me, see, lies, look, here's the conditions in front of you. There's the 10 conditions of bay'ah in front of you. Look, show me where that supposed condition number 4 is. Show me where it says you have to be a sincere well-wisher of the government, the British government. In India, by the way, I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about in India. He said to me, you see, this is just one of the normal lies that the non-Ahmadis make about us. They lied. He told me this lie. This guy lied to me because I didn't know Urdu. I couldn't go and check it myself. I found all the stuff out after I left Ahmadiyya. He said to me, they lie. This is one of the usual lies. Here's the 10 conditions here. Have a look for yourself. I said, I know the 10 conditions, mate. I know it's not there. I'm asking you, was it ever there? No, of course it wasn't ever there. And then you've got it here. It says in Kitab al-Barriya, page 13, Rawhani Khaza'in, volume 13. It says it right there. Any of you read Urdu? If you don't, please go and find someone who's going to tell you the truth. Because if you go to some missionary or something, or any of these people, or people who are scared that you might leave Ahmadiyya, they won't tell you what it says there. Find someone, even if you have to pay money. Tell him, can you just read this for me? And tell him word for word. Show me every single word. Tell him, read it out for you. Record him even when he's saying it. You will see that this 4th condition is in this page 13. And this is just one of the many lies that I was told because I asked many questions when I was in Ahmadiyya. I asked so many. I never went into Ahmadiyya with blindfolds on. I made a big mistake joining Ahmadiyya, but I never went in with I always asked so many questions because I really went in with a sincere heart. I really thought it was true, based on the withheld evidence and the lies I was told. And this is one of the many lies that I was told. This is a lie because it is in the book, and they said no, it's not in the book. Look at the 10 conditions; it's not there. You know, I'm going to continue here with yet another disgusting little piece of writing here from Mirza's Kitab al-Barriya, page 350. He's asking the British government to look at his Mirza Ghulam is asking the British government to look at his family and his community with special favour. I'm sure most of you listening to this, if you're Ahmadi, you're probably thinking, we don't even want no bloody special favour. Why is he asking on our behalf? But he did anyway. Here we go. This is a rough translation here. You know, the screenshot is you've got it in the video, the page there. As I said, it's page 350, Rawhani Khaza'in, volume 13. The book is Kitab al-Barriya. So page 350 of Kitab al-Barriya. So here's a rough translation. Mirza Ghulam is basically asking the British government to look towards him and his community with special favours, bearing in mind his family's loyalty to the government. He also asked the government to signal their other officials to also bear in mind his family's loyalty and sincerity, and look at them favourably and kindly. This is a prophet of Allah, right? This is a supposed prophet of God, the creator of all these galaxies and planets. This guy has to ask. He's begging friendship, begging favours basically from invaders of his country. He then goes on to say, his family have not hesitated to give their blood and their lives in the path of the British government, and neither will they hesitate in the future. Therefore, it is our right, bearing in mind our previous khidmat, to request the government's full inayat, or favour, or whatever you call it, and special attention. Mirza Ghulam then goes on to list the names of people in his community for the attention of the government. Once again, you will never see this on MTA, you will never see this in any publications of the Ahmadiyya organization. Why? They hide it. You can ask me now, you're probably saying, oh, you're asking yourself, why the hell would they put this online? One guess, I would guess, is that they wanted to leave it on record to show future governments that we're sellouts, basically. Mirza Ghulam was a sellout. And he wants to show future governments that he was a sellout. Don't forget, and so that his whole community, the leaders, obviously I'm not talking about the poor innocent Ahmadis who don't know nothing about this. I'm talking about the leadership of Ahmadiyya. They know full well what's in these books. So that they get remembered very well by governments. You know, right now, I know very well that Israel and Ahmadiyya have a decent relationship. Britain and Ahmadiyya have a very good relationship, because this is where the roots started from. It started from Mirza Ghulam under the British rule in India. So that's my my theory. If you're asking me, I would say to you that I think that's the reason they left it there, is only for that, just to show that we're always on your side. We've always been on your side. Because it certainly wasn't for any benefit of his followers. What are you going to get from, is there some amazing tafsir of Quran or something? All this junk written here. Is there any tafsir? Is that some amazing extra way of doing salah, or some amazing dua that Mirza Ghulam has written or something? No. It's all political crap. It's all junk. So then the only purpose that I think, the best thing I can come out with, is that he's leaving on record. So they can remember and they can distinguish Ahmadiyya from Muslims. Because Muslims will never go with some Muslim people on a whole, and I'm not talking about Saudi Arabian government, I'm talking about Muslim normal people would never go with unjust governments. They'd never support unjust governments, because it's against our deen to be like that. And it's not because they're not Muslim, it's because they're unjust. We live in all sorts of countries of different religions, it's not a problem. But it's because they're unjust, and normal Muslims would never take the side of an unjust, either the ruler or the invader. If he's from the country himself and he's unjust, or as an invader, foreign invader who's controlling your country. They would never take your side. They would never take your side. Look at this guy, he's going out of his way. He's leaning over backwards to prove to them that he's on their side. Knowing what they did in India. Knowing what they did to India's GDP. They used to have a third of the world's GDP. Approximately a third, them and China. After Britain left, after the British left India, what was it? Less than 7%. They dwarfed it. And this guy is bending over backwards. Mirza Ghulam is bending over backwards, trying to show them that how much he's on their side and how much he loves them. And we show us favors, and to me and to my followers. Does a prophet of Allah act like this? Look at Sayyidina Musa. Look at Prophet Moses, man. Look at how he was with the Pharaoh. Look at how he was with look at all these prophets, and you show me someone who acted like that. The Ahmadis tried to say to you, the Holy Prophet, he sent a letter to one of the kings. He didn't sit there licking his boots. He wasn't a sycophant. Astaghfirullah. Sayyidina Muhammad, if he was a sycophant, our religion would be nowhere. I wouldn't even be a Muslim. Sayyidina Muhammad was a just man. He was a strong character. He was al-Sadiq al-Amin. And on top of that, he never used to know how to read or write, which is obviously proves the miracle of the Quran. In total contrast to Mirza, who basically wrote, 80-something books and sold them as well. And as we know, the whole 5 and 50, where he said, give me my money back and give me the books back as well, and then I'll give you your paltry coins, give you a refund. He's a proper bookseller, this Mirza Ghulam. Nothing like Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why honorable, honest Muslims, they are extremely disgusted by Mirza Ghulam, and they're disgusted that he's grafting his filth onto the beautiful religion of Islam. He's trying to glue it onto Islam as if it's a natural place. No, Mirza Ghulam, you should have made your own religion. You should have created your own religion. But no, we know that. We know he couldn't create it, because what's the biggest favor he did for the British in India is that he abrogated jihad. And I'm not even saying that the people of India should have done jihad, because there were Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists and atheist people there who didn't want the British there. Now what, you're going to tell the Sikhs to do jihad? They don't have jihad in their religion. So that's why I'm telling you here, it's irrelevant, this whole point about jihad. It's about simple nationalism. It's about you love your country, and these invaders are destroying it, and they're being unjust to your people. But the biggest thing Mirza Ghulam did for the British was that he removed jihad. Because as we know, the British were extremely fearful from the Muslim people there, because the Muslim people, maybe because a lot of them were illiterate, they really, they were told that, you have to do jihad against the British or whatever. And so they really feared that because they knew they're going to be very strong against them and they could lose their power. So Mirza Ghulam, his biggest favor was to remove this. And the only thing, he's gone and changed basically something that's from our deen. And it's only for the benefit of the British government. The foreign invaders, the foreign invaders who looted and robbed that country, he's come and changed an Islamic thing for their in their favor of them, yani. As we know, you probably your brain is working, and this is the decent Ahmadis of you who really think you're following true Islam, and you just can't believe that this guy's written his stuff, but you're considering that because we've got all the references there, that's his book. All of these are his books. What do you think, we're going to make this all up and write it and print it and forge it? It's all on Al-Islam. Check our references and go and get that exact same page from Al-Islam and read it. It's the same words, everything's the same. Your gears are turning probably in your brain. You're probably thinking, well, was he planted then? Did they put him there? I can't answer that for you. But what I can say to you is that he either begged their friendship or they planted him, they enlisted him, they employed him. So he either begged it, so he said, oh, look at the services I can give you. I can bring you Muslims on your side, and give me favors in return. For whatever reason, obviously he's getting worldly benefits because this guy's a worldly person. He loved worldly things. Or they actually put him in his position. Now, either one of them, I'm probably more inclined to say that he begged it, basically. He begged their friendship. He was trying to force it. Show them how much I can, look how much I can do for you guys. Guys, look what I can do for you. Look how much I've written, in favor of your government. Remember me, remember me. Give me favors, get my community favors, right? Remember us. So I think that's probably the more likely thing. But either way, we don't know for sure because there is no document, and you never will find any document that says, yes, I was paid by the British, or a British document says, yes, we planted a false prophet called Mirza Ghulam of Qadian to mislead the Muslims and divide them even further and make him abrogate jihad for all of his followers. We know Ahmadiyya hasn't spread properly. We know Ahmadiyya is in many countries of the world, but they are very small quantities overall. Despite all the lies that you hear, by the way, about their figures, sometimes you hear 300 million, then you hear 80 million, where are they all gone? What, did they die of famine or something? Where did they go? It's because their figures are forged. But as I'm saying, the point I'm trying to say to you is here, it hasn't, the British probably thought, yes, this could actually take off and really confuse so many Muslims and make so many Muslims join Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's community, so they become Ahmadi people. But it didn't work. It didn't work, even in Pakistan today. How many percentage-wise are Ahmadi and how many are normal Muslims? It didn't work. But that's probably what they thought could happen. And any of you using your brain today, they've got a good relationship with Israel right now. They've got their area in Kababir over there. It's called Kababir. Got a lot of Ahmadis there. They're probably, I don't know, the Israelis are probably thinking, maybe, and I'm saying maybe, this is my theory, by the way. I'm not telling you it's a fact, it's a theory from mine. And many of my colleagues as well, we share the same theory, the same opinion. It's possible that they say, maybe we could get all these, these Hamas people and all these people who are against Israel, get them to join Ahmadiyya, basically turn them into non-resistant people. Now we all know how illegal Israel has been acting since they've been taking over all the areas. So most of the Palestinian land they've taken. This is all illegal. It's against international law. The UN has condemned them. The international community has condemned them, but they just can't take any action because the USA keeps vetoing any action against them. We know this very well. Any of you who know about international politics or international law, you'd know about this. They keep vetoing it. the UN, the United Nations Security Council, the USA will keep vetoing it. Even Russia and China vote for it. No, the USA will keep vetoing it and say, nope, we're not going to have any action against Israel. So obviously this is just a modern take, a modern, a modern opinion of what the benefit of Ahmadiyya is at the moment. But the fact of the matter is, Allah will never allow such a false person, a false prophet, a liar or a deluded man. Well, obviously we know he lied because he is a liar because he lied where he said Qadian's in the Quran. Pick up any Quran and show me where Qadian is. You don't find it, Mirza Ghulam is a liar. He's not deluded on this point, he's a liar. So inshallah, most of the Muslims of the world, they will never follow Ahmadiyya. They will never follow Ahmadiyya. If they think they're going to get all these Hamas people and all this sort of thing to benefit Israel, then they will never follow Ahmadiyya. May Allah always make our religion strong. May Allah always show the truth of our religion to all the truth-seeking people of the world. Peacefully. Peacefully. Show them our beautiful religion. Because our religion is called Islam. Our religion is about peace. We only fight back, but we never attack. That's what Islam is. You only defend, but you never attack. Despite what the media and the world tries to make our religion look like, and one or two stupid example of Muslims who go and do bad things, or they don't go and do bombings and all this kind of thing, this is wrong and I'm against it. And Muslims of the world are against it, because that's unjust. We defend ourselves. And Muslims are courageous, alhamdulillah. I leave you with that. This is a very long video. I hope it's benefited you, inshallah. Allah is our witness, me, my colleagues. Allah is our witness that we do not make anything up. Everything substantiated, everything, all the writings that we say Mirza has written, he has written. He has written, and we've put them on screen, and we've got all of them, and we'll be putting them on our website if we haven't already, islamafterahmadiyya.com. This is Osama Sayyid on behalf of all my colleagues saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.